so let me stay this way. Jesus, there's freedom in your name. You break every chain, oh Lord. 'Cause you are above every name, Jesus. Oh, you set me free. Now I live my life singing songs of praise, proclaiming everything you've done for me. 'Cause my walls
All right, good morning. Welcome to the Warrior's Way. Our warrior this week is Bill. Say good morning, Bill.
Good morning.
All right, he's from Reconnections, and if you guys want to check out the website while we're talking, it's www.re-connections.org. That's www.re-connections.org. And Bill is from a group called Reconnections. We, of course, are from the Spiritual Warfare Unit at UCAN Studios, live with Bill. All right, good morning, Bill. How are we doing this morning?
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well. So he's a Flintstone as I am, and you grew up right downtown?
Yeah, I grew up on Delaware, just off from Dort Highway.
Ooh, east side.
Yep.
Yeah, that was tough back then. I don't
Yeah.
know if it's that way now, but definitely tough back then,
It's
right?
pretty depleted now when I drive through there. So.
Kind of empty. Yeah. All right. So I got to meet Bill, and he works with a group called Reconnections. We had his buddy Andy on, but Bill has got an excellent story, and I want to share it with you guys. And so you grew up in Flint. You were born when?
I was born in 1972.
1972, and that was here in Flint?
I was actually born in Saginaw, Michigan.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So,
All right. And so your parents came to Flint. You went to school here?
my parents divorced when I was 2,
Okay.
and my mom moved to Flint. So
Oh, all right.
I moved here. I had no
Yeah.
choice. That's where I moved.
Yeah. So single family. And
Yep.
Bill and I's connection is we grew up with families and my parents divorced when I was 7. So, and I had to go live with my mom in Flint for same thing. And but your experience is kind of unique, right? So what schools did you go to, like when you got here? Do you remember?
Yeah. So in elementary school, I went to Washington Elementary.
Okay.
And when I drive by that building today, it's kind of crazy because it's been burnt and part of it's still standing. But
Wow.
It brings back a lot of memories.
Yeah. Was that a good experience or tough experience? Like
It was a tough experience.
A lot
for
of
me
fighting?
as a child. Just with the background where I came from and the things that were surrounded in my household.
yeah.
I was, I guess, ridiculed a lot as a child in school.
Because
My mom's occupation.
which was so people know.
She was a stripper,
Okay.
and
How did other kids find out about that in elementary school? That's kind of a weird one, right?
well, when you live in a house and there's
Gotcha.
pictures on the wall,
I
and
gotcha.
so when I have friends come over, they see it.
Yeah.
They go back, they tell other kids,
See?
and it just floats like a wheelbarrow.
I didn't even think about it. So you were fighting a lot then.
Yeah.
And the reason why I always bring that up is because back in the 50s and 60s, Flint was like the mark nationally for schools, right? I mean, we had an unbelievable school system, and then it just went down, right?
Yes.
And so this was the inevitable outcome. So you're growing up in an environment. Mom is an exotic dancer for a job. You're a kid, and you're living in that environment. And she's single, boyfriends on and off, remarried.
She had a couple boyfriends.
Okay.
Some lived with us at some points, but there were, a few that came and go. Came and went.
Yeah, so you're used to from the dad perspective, it's just empty or temporary at best.
Well, my father, had got arrested when I was 2, and I didn't see him until I guess I visited him a couple of times when he was locked up. But he ended up getting his charges dropped.
Okay.
So he got out when I was about 5.
Okay.
And then
Did the relationship resume or?
Well, my dad had got a job in Saginaw. Worked at General Motors.
Yeah.
And he met a lady there, and they got married.
Yeah.
And so when I got to see him, the lifestyle he had was a fast-paced lifestyle.
Okay.
And there were a lot of times when I would be waiting for my dad to come pick me up, and he wouldn't show up. And
He's preoccupied.
yeah, he was doing his thing.
His thing. Yeah.
And the time era at that point, I look back and
What is this? Late 70s, early 80s?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So I kind of understand to some aspect, and I don't hold any grudges, and I love my father for who he is today. So, but
Yeah, no, it's all good. It all leads to the story, right?
yeah,
So you're growing up in this farm, so that'll put you at 8, 9, 10 right in there
yeah,
when all that's going on?
yep.
So hitting into the early 80s. All right, and what year did you go into middle school?
Make me think.
Sorry. I just want to get the timeline right.
So I would think somewhere in 85,
Okay.
86. I went to Lowell Middle School.
Okay, now did you stay in the same school or did you move a lot?
No, I went to Washington Elementary, completed that, and after 6th grade, I went to Lowell Middle School.
All right, because see, for me as a kid, once my parents got divorced, every single semester we went to a different school because my mom was always moving, right?
Yep.
That's just part of her issue that we had. So you never got to fit in, so you were always like that chameleon kid, you know? You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
you're always a new kid, so you're getting beat up, so you got to, you know what I mean?
There was a point in my life where my mom, I'm not sure what happened, but apparently I had to go live with my father in 3rd grade, and I went to a St. Charles school for a short period of time.
Okay.
And then I went
What
back.
what was that experience?
That was exactly, and that was back when they had paddles,
Yeah, yeah. So you got
remember-
whacked with
I
the
remember
rulers
getting
and all
whacked,
that?
yeah.
Oh,
they don't
bro.
do that anymore, but
Yeah.
but yeah. So that was quite an experience.
That's laughing coming from a kid who got beat as well. You know? They used to be able to spank you at school, which was, you know.
It became something I got used to because when I lived with my mother, I made a lot of mistakes because I was always just a kid by myself.
Well, sure, and rules aren't a thing that was explained to you, and why do I got to follow what you're doing, and why is your way right?
Yeah. So and I got beat quite a bit as a child, and as I got older, I started to look at my mother and look at her life,
Yeah,
and see where she came from,
yeah,
and what she had experienced. So, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
yep.
So, I can see where her mind frame is at, and I understand, and there's forgiveness,
Right, sure.
But
Yeah, because the understanding as an adult versus a kid changes, and you understand why they did what they
Yep.
did, right? Okay, so, did you graduate high school?
well, I lived with my mom until I was 13 years old.
Okay.
That was the last time I got beat by my mom. And I called my father, and I said, look, this is what's going on. Come and get me.
Yeah.
And he lived in Chesaning.
Okay.
So I went from a pretty much about an 80% dominated black school to Chesaning, Michigan, where they only had 2 black people in the whole school. So the dynamics had definitely changed in my life because of the upbringing I had in the 80s.
Yeah, yeah.
Break dancing, all that
Yeah.
stuff. All that stuff.
So
was,
you were that guy.
yeah, and I go to this school. I got a Playboy bunny earring hanging from my ear. I got a long ponytail hanging down.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, you did not fit the.
oh no, it was not a good
I can
experience.
just in my head, I just see you walking in. You're like, and all these people are like, "Oh my god!" Right? And they're like, "Don't hang out with that kid." Right?
I got Puma clothes on, Puma shoes, and they're like, and then first class they put me in is honor science.
Outstanding.
I walk into this classroom, they're like, "This is Mr. Bill Lucio."
Yeah.
They're all looking at me. So yeah, that was quite an adventure.
Yeah, I realized in a moment that I did not fit in. Yeah,
But
right.
yeah, what a different environment though.
Yeah, right. So did your energy drive you away from those people, or did it drive you to fit in? Like,
Well, I guess I was an extrovert, so I always, I would, even when I lived with my mom, I'd walk down the neighborhood and knock on people's doors and introduce myself. And
Wow.
I guess I was, that was the
Okay.
charisma that I had built inside me.
yeah,
And so I did my best to try and, find a couple of the bigger kids in school to be friends with.
Yeah.
Because if I was going to get jumped, I wanted the right people
yeah,
backing me up. So,
yeah.
So it was quite an experience. So.
So you went and lived with your dad till you're 13, and was that through high school?
Yes, so I moved to Chesaning.
So you graduated from Chesaning?
I graduated out of Chesaning in 1991.
All right.
So when I moved in with my father, like I said, I was 13. He had a fast-paced lifestyle. He was he worked at the plant, so he always was gone all day long.
Yeah.
He'd come home. He wanted to, do his
Decompress.
thing, do his thing.
Yeah.
And as a little kid, you see that stuff,
Right. You're like, oh, that's what I'm supposed to do.
and that's what you do. So in the Bible, it says, train a child in the way that he should go, and as he gets older, he will not depart from it.
Right.
So I went from one place to the next place,
Yeah.
and then that became my life.
Right.
It got to the point where my father knew, what I was doing, and he kind of supported it to an aspect.
So he was hanging out with you.
Yeah.
All right. And you're 18 at this time?
I'm
17?
I'm 14, 15.
Wow.
Yeah. So
At 14, 15, he's like, oh, you're hanging out with the big boys, playing cards and smoking and drinking and doing all that.
So I
So he was
remember
the cool dad.
Yeah, he was awesome. He was my Superman.
Yeah, right.
It was definitely a different relationship than what I had with my mother. So.
All right, so you're in this environment, and you basically learned I got to work, and I can hang out, and this is what you're supposed to do. Like, this is the scope of it.
The work part wasn't emphasized in any of the
Oh,
relationships.
the play part was.
It was always here's some money, get out of my hair.
Gotcha. Go away.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you go to find those kinds of people.
Yeah.
And that's what my environment was surrounded by.
Yeah.
So
All right, so you're hanging out with the play guys, which is the corner guys, the older guys that really have not accomplished anything. And this is as a young person, you probably felt pretty cool, right?
Oh man, if I needed alcohol, I'd just go, let's go catch this guy. I give him some money, he'd go to the store, get me some alcohol.
And the thing is people don't understand that's more of a norm than a not norm, especially
in a small community.
Yeah, where we grew up in the city. That's like that. You're telling me the story, and I'm like, yeah, that doesn't sound odd to me at all.
Yep.
And then until I went to go live with my dad in Davison, it was, that whole kind of small town thing, and a group of friends, and you hung out and you did your stuff. Like, that seems what it is. All right, so you're doing this, you're getting in there, and what happens next?
Well, I started drinking when I was 14.
Yeah.
I got a job when I was 16 at the Heritage House in Chesaning.
Okay.
That used to be a big place. All the stars used to come there. They had the showboat and all that.
Okay.
I started washing dishes. Well, there was a Rathskeller downstairs, and they had the best pizza. I remember you just can't even get that anymore. But they had these doors, these sliding doors that were never locked.
Okay.
And they stored all their alcohol in there.
Okay.
And me being an alcoholic, like, hey, I know where I can get
got free access.
I know where I can get some free beer.
Yeah, right.
And I remember going down at one point late in the night and grabbed a couple cases of beer.
And at 16, you'd label yourself as an alcoholic.
Oh, yeah. I didn't realize it then.
Yeah. No. I'm just saying. How much were you drinking back then?
I drank. I always wanted to drink more than everybody else.
I got you. Proved my manhood.
I became, a person that got into blacking out and not remembering what happened the day before. But I was walking out the door, and it was winter, and I slipped and I fell. All the bottles busted.
Yep.
And people were working in the back. They seen, oh, there's Bill. So that was the first time I got in trouble with the law. And that was just the direction of what my life was going to become.
So from that point, it just started to...
Downhill from that point on. So,
all right.
By the time I was 18, it got to the point where my dad was remarried. I had half brother, half sisters.
Yeah.
I was not a good role model for them because all I wanted to do was party.
Yeah. Which is what you're taught.
Yep. And, it got to the point where they said, you can't stay here anymore.
All right.
And, you're 18.
Yeah.
Go make your own way.
Right. Well, that is a perfect time to take a break. If you've not gone to Reconnections, re-connections.org, check that out. We're going to be sitting here with Bob. Hit spiritualwarfareunit.com. Like, subscribe, and share, and we'll be right back. Taking a quick break from our podcast, I wanted to let you know about our life application program that we have for churches and nonprofits in the area that are trying to find programming that they can use in case case the corona shuts you down and you're not able to get in, you go to spiritualwarfareunit.com. You click on our episodes, and you can check out our programs for as little as $29.99 a month to make sure that we're still getting the word out to those people that need it. Now, back to the program. Boom. All right, welcome back to the Warriors Way. Our warrior this week is Bill Lucio, and he is talking about his story of how he got into trouble, and eventually, hopefully it has a happy ending. We'll see what happens. All right, so you're 18, you're drinking, you consider yourself an alcoholic, you're out partying, and at 18, you're out, right?
Yes.
So now you got to take care of yourself,
Yes.
right? What'd you do?
I struggled.
No kidding.
I tried to find work.
Yeah.
And it was hard for me to hold a job because a lot of times I wouldn't wake up the next day and make it to work.
Yeah, right.
Because I was wasted.
So how long did that last?
I moved to Traverse City. I started pouring basements. I got into construction.
Okay.
And that lasted like a year and a half.
Okay.
Got jumped, got beat up. And everywhere I went, I was always getting in fights.
Why do you think that was?
I had a lot of anger deep inside of me.
Were you like one of those rowdy fight guys? Like mouthy?
I was gentle as a bear, and then when I got drunk,
that's when the monster came out to play.
yeah.
Okay.
It reminds me of the song by Skillet. The monster inside me comes
Monster
out. I feel
inside
like
me.
a monster. So,
Yeah.
yeah. And so I bounced from one house to the next house to the next
Right.
house, and then obviously, one of the safe places was me to find a woman.
Yeah.
So then you find a woman that lets you come stay in her house.
Yeah. How long did that last?
I bounced around. I was like a leaf in the wind.
So everything is just going. All right. So crap has to hit the fan here eventually.
Yes.
Well, what happens?
So I get pulled over.
Okay.
I get a drunk driving.
Oh, okay. Did you go to jail that night?
I was 16.
Okay.
And
So we're backing up a little bit. All right.
Yep. And then by the time I was 18, I got another one.
Outstanding.
Impaired driving.
Okay.
And then I was starting to get into this environment. Well, my relationships would fail.
Yeah.
Because once they hung out with me long enough, they realized I was going nowhere.
Yeah. There was nothing behind the bravado.
Yep.
Yeah.
So and then I made some bad choices. I ended up being a control freak.
Okay.
In my relationships.
Sure. Because you had control, nothing else, right?
Yeah. And because you don't have a good boundary for a mother role model, you don't have the best boundary for a father role model, but he provided for me.
Yeah.
Monetarily.
I get it.
But spiritually not. So my world was always small. I lived in a silo all the time. So it was like, this is as far as I can reach. This is as far as we're going.
Yeah.
And it became an issue with me. So, I got a domestic violence charge.
Yeah.
That just led into, another bad relationship, another bad
Same
relationship.
Same outcome. All right. So you're hurling towards something. Like
Yes.
what happened? What was the domino stretch?
Well, it got to the point where I realized that if I continue to live my life this way, I'm going to end up either dead or I'm going to end up in prison for the rest of my life.
Yeah, right.
And so from 1998 to 2004, during that span, I did about 3.5 years in and out of the Saginaw County Jail.
Okay. So you started basically from 91 to 04, you're just in the wind, just whatever comes your way, you're in it. So for a 13-year process, you're just whatever.
Yes.
Okay.
So in 1998, when all this started happening, I was an iron worker for Local 25. I had a very good job.
Okay. Now, did you go to school for that, or you just
training?
You did do training.
It's a union job.
Okay.
And what happened is, you're always used to being up in the air.
Yeah.
And the girl that I had my first daughter with, she was sick of our relationship and she left.
Okay.
I didn't know what to do. I don't have somebody to call, so I call up one of my friends. Let's go golfing.
Yeah.
And we got a case of beer. We got some alcohol.
Yeah.
And I got kicked out of every bar that night. I ended up climbing a tree that night at a house where we were supposed to be partying, and I fell 17 feet.
Yeah.
I landed on my head on the sidewalk.
Oh, man.
I pushed the right side of my brain over the left side of my head.
Okay.
I woke up 8 days later in the hospital. I didn't know who any of my family members were. I couldn't walk. I couldn't talk. I had all these things in me. And
Did your hands move?
my hands could move. And so I seen all this stuff, and I
Yeah.
didn't understand why I was there.
Was it like a freak out?
Yeah, and I pulled everything out.
Oh,
like,
man.
everything.
Yeah, yeah.
And they said they did it. They hooked me all back up, and I did it again. And they said they never seen nobody do it twice in a row because
Yeah.
of some of the stuff that I pulled out were in spots that weren't comfortable.
Yeah, yeah.
And I didn't realize why I was there.
Yeah.
And so I ended up losing my job
Of course.
as an iron worker. My balance is not the same as it used to be.
Yeah.
So how do you find a way to make money?
Yeah. Now, was it diagnosed brain injury on the spot, right?
Oh yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I had the best around, the best
Yeah, yeah.
neurologist.
So now you're disabled. And you're how old?
I am 28 years old.
28 years old, and you're disabled from falling out of a tree because you decided to climb a tree because you were hammered.
Yes.
And your life is over.
Yes.
Okay. So you have one daughter?
I have 3 daughters.
No, at the time.
At that time, I had 1 daughter. yeah.
Okay. And you were, all right. Man, that is crazy. Okay. So what was the time frame of like the recovery?
They said about 3 years. I was supposed to see my neurologist.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and I didn't.
You just decided
Because I
it
thought,
wasn't important.
I can do this, you know.
You can
can't
do
tell me-
what?
You can't tell me that I can't do this, you know.
Yeah, but hold on. Okay.
And it didn't work.
Yeah. Okay. So you're like, yeah, I'm not going to see the brain doctor because I got this.
Yeah,
No kidding. You
That's-
were like, I got this.
that's what I did.
Wow. Did you? Yeah, I'm laughing because I've had to deal with.
This is the mind frame of a drug addict and alcoholic.
Like I'm like the brain doctor. You're like, yeah, I don't need you, and you justified that action.
Yes.
How in the world did you do that?
Well, it was the people that I hung out with. You know, one of my buddies says, "Well, you were making all this money. I know a way you can make money." And he was he sold cocaine.
Oh, so it was just a money thing.
And
that made
I was
it
like,
successful.
so I got to make money to survive.
Right.
Because obviously I didn't have no place to live.
So
how do I-
from the hospital bed, 8 days being unconscious to drug dealer. How long was that?
Well, I was in the hospital for 30 days before they let me
Oh, you
out.
woke up after 8 days.
Yep.
So you're there a month.
Yeah. And
Wow.
I even tried to escape because I didn't know why I was there. And they caught me.
Like you didn't have the history, you didn't have the memory.
No.
Wow.
They found me a couple whole blocks down at the courthouse, and there was security guards, and they pulled up in a van, and they took me back to the hospital.
Did you even know why you went to the courthouse?
I was going to try to go to my aunt's house. I knew my aunt lived down the road, so I was trying to go to my godparents' house.
Wow.
And so when that happened, they zipped me up in a bed,
Nice.
and I'm hitting a button all the time. I was horrible. So when I look back at that, it's like, you know,
You owe a lot of people an apology.
I've went to the hospital and asked if anybody worked there during that period. I'd
Just
like
so
to
you can
apologize,
apologize.
you know,
Wow.
you know, trying to make those amends. Most of them do not work there anymore. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was definitely a transition in my life. And so getting locked up during that time period, there was a program in the jail, and it was called Forgotten Man Ministries,
Yeah.
which has now reached the forgotten.
Right.
And there was a lady in that jail, and she was the chaplain.
Yeah.
And she took this. She had something that I never seen before. She had this love that I never seen before.
Okay.
And she said, you know, God has a plan for you. So I would go in. I'd do about maybe 6 months or a year.
Yeah.
I'd get out,
Come back.
come back, and she'd look at me and she'd be like, "Billy, you're back again. What did you do?" And I remember her just telling me, you know, you got to put a Band-Aid on your knee. You got to get back up, and you got to keep going down the road. That
Now,
the
how
Lord
long
has
did
set.
that in and out process go right there?
3.5 years. So during that period with her,
It's 98
to 2004, during that whole period, I would go in, get out, go in, get out, go in, get out.
All right, so we're in a perfect spot to take a break. And when we come back, we have our gem session where we get a couple of funny stories from our guest, and then we'll finish up seeing how this story comes out. Please go check www.re-connections.org and spiritualwarfareunit.com. We'll be right back.
I'm really impressed with the teachings that Isaac has been bringing to us, as this is all based from Proverbs.
I like it because it's simple, and it doesn't matter who you are. It's very easy to understand and apply to your life.
It points out, my bad parts, and, but it's showing me how to do the good parts. And, I'm trying to apply that and, make a better life for myself because I'm tired of where I've been.
It's impacted a lot of the guys as they continue to talk and ask questions after the meetings, as they speak to one another regarding the meeting and the messages and the topics that are being brought up, which are down-to-earth topics of situations and things that we live with on a day-to-day basis.
He takes the Bible and he breaks it down into simple terms and where you can understand. And like I said before, sometimes a lot of churches, even the Salvation Army, sometimes we start using these big words that people don't understand, like even saying someone got saved. Well, what does that mean? What does it mean when you say someone got saved? And it's accepting Jesus into your heart. So it's like words like that we use that people don't understand.
It's just very interesting how he points out, the different things of, the sin part, and then he comes back with the, how to make it better, and he just points it out. It's there. I didn't know all this stuff was in there, but now that he's pointing it out, it's like, wow, I guess if you really dig into the Bible, you find these things.
This is a daily moral standards that we can live by, that the teachings are coming from. And honestly, we can take verse by verse as what he's done, and pretty much he's done the hard work for us and now laying it out so that we have an easier understanding.
There's some people who don't like to be in Bible classes, but this one seems to get their attention.
People that are talking about breaking the rules use their fingers to speak to each other. And that's what gangs do to communicate from point A to point B. It's almost like this has been in the Bible for 2,000 years and people feel like it's a new thing. That is unbelievable, isn't it? That things that are happening in your life today are in here from 2,000 years ago. That's very weird. That's working it. All right, welcome back to the Warrior's Way. Our warrior this week is Bill Lucio, and he's from Reconnections, re-connections.org is the website if you want to check it out. So we always ask for some funny stories because inevitably through all difficult scenarios, there's these crazy kind of situations that happen to end up being kind of funny, right?
Yeah.
So I asked, what do you got for us?
So, all my relationships always failed because being a drug addict and alcoholic, that's what the relationship revolved around.
It's weird how that works. Huh?
Yeah, So I ended up becoming a manager of a fitness center. Mm-hmm. And I remember meeting this lady, and she had never been to a co-ed gym before.
Okay.
And she's like, can you help me with some exercises? I'm like, sure. I says, I'm going to put you on this Stairmaster. I said, I'm going to set it for 30 minutes. Mm-hmm. And I said, you probably won't last 5 minutes. This is a very difficult exercise.
Just set the bar for her.
Yeah.
Outstanding.
So 30 minutes go by, she was still on it.
Out of spite.
Yeah, and that's exactly how she thought of it as well. So she comes in the next day and she can barely walk. And little did I know that was going to be the beginning of the changing of my life.
Well, somebody that pushed her.
Yes. And,
no kidding.
And, we dated for a couple months, and then we decided we were going to get married.
Yeah.
And when we got married, everyone said that the marriage wouldn't make it.
Yeah.
And actually, November 1st of this year, we'll be married for 11 years.
That's outstanding, man. Good for you. What's funny is the weirdest stories, because I met my wife, and I worked for a restaurant. You're not allowed, and I was a manager. You're not allowed to associate with the underlings,
Yeah.
And I had this girl that was there, and she was a good worker, right? And for like a younger lady, that was a weird thing. So I was like, I'm going to do you a favor and give you extra hours, which she was not happy about because she wanted to go out and do her thing. So she thought I was like getting on her. Right? When really I was like, well, you're welcome. You can work more hours because in my brain, more hours is a good thing. But to like a 17, 18-year-old girl, they're like, I don't want to do anything but work. So, and I'm sitting there doing this. I'm like, man, I really like her. Like she like told her friends she wanted to stab me. Right? And I'm like, man, I really respect that, And so when I wasn't her boss, I was like, yeah, I got to take this one out on a date, right? Because she was a hard worker. I respected those things, and she got mad at me. And I'm like, she's the proof that I have some kind of functional people skills because we dated and she hated me. So I was able to turn that back around, right? And the funny part was, as a guy, I'm thinking, well, you can get more hours, not just dumber than a box of stones, right? Just so stupid. And so I can appreciate those stories. All right, so we were at the super pivotal part of the story, and 98 to 04, and relationships coming and going, and in and out of jail, in and out of jail, in and out of jail. How many times you think you had been in jail by this time? 04?
Probably about 5 times.
5 times, okay.
Yeah.
So you met this lady, and she's talking about Jesus. And
She was not talking about.
She wasn't talking about.
The lady in the jail
yeah.
was. Yes, correct. Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
lady in jail.
Yeah.
All right.
She was the chaplain.
That's all right.
Chaplain Sue Jones.
All right.
I'll never forget her for the rest of my life.
All right. That's awesome. So she said, you got to get your stuff together, and then you did? Like right away? Or
No,
like what happened?
it was
there?
a process.
Okay.
And so I had met another girl, and she got into my life, and
Yeah.
we had a child.
Is this the stair stepper girl? Or not?
No.
Okay.
No.
Oh.
We had a child together,
All
and
right.
then we ended up having another child together. Mm-hmm. And I dabbled on both sides of the fence, and so I wasn't really 100% giving my life over to the Lord.
Yeah, you're this way with these people and that way with that.
So
I
in
got you.
2008, I decided I was going to get baptized. I thought,
Okay.
you know what? This is what I need to do to change
Yeah,
my
yeah.
life. And I invited all my family members, everything.
Yep.
Nobody showed up to my baptism.
They're like, good for you, bro.
They're used to what I always did.
Yeah, they're probably hungover, right?
But who showed up was the chaplain.
No kidding.
And
Sue came in.
She came up and she put her arm around my back and she said, "Where's your father at?" And I looked at her and I just started bawling.
Oh, man.
And she said, "Do not worry about it." She says, "Because your real father's here."
Wow.
And wow, that made a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Not then. It does now.
Yeah,
It did
yeah.
afterwards. But what she did was she knew that my relationship wasn't going to work out. She allowed me to move into her house.
Wow.
She was the chaplain. No inmate's ever known where she lived.
Yeah.
Her and her husband let me live there for a couple months. That's when I got the job at the fitness center, and that's when I met.
That was
lady.
08.
Yeah. No, in 2000, in 2010, I started working.
All right,
at
so that puts you at what? How old? 30?
30, 2000. So I was 72.
Yeah. 82, 92, 02,
20.
12. So basically almost 40.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're late 30s at this point.
Yeah. So I had a 22-year run with the drugs and alcohol.
Yeah.
And when she showed me that, she showed me things I never seen before. She showed me what marriage looked like. She showed me what being a parent looked like. She
Yeah.
showed me things that was never displayed to me.
Yeah.
And that's she was in my life for 12 years. Some of it was when I was locked up, and then,
Yeah.
and then I was actually a pallbearer for her funeral, and I made her a promise before she had passed away. I said, "I'm going to do exactly what you did for me, is I'm going to give other people hope the way that you did to me."
All right, perfect. So you decided then that you're going to change your life and be a person who's a positive impact instead of a negative impact. So what did you do to fulfill that promise?
Well, when I got married, my wife found out that I was a drug addict and alcoholic, and she said,
Because you're still battling it.
"Yeah,
Okay.
And she said, "I can put it down, and I just threw my hands up and told the Lord, that I need to change my life.
Yeah.
I said, we've been married for almost 11 years. I've been sober for almost 11 years now. So that was when my life has started changing. And there's a lot of parts that go along with it because it's not an easy transition.
Sure. There's I know we're bumbling over the top of this because we don't have we only got an hour.
Yep.
But she showed you the capability of the construct and of
Yes.
relationships. So you were just learning that construct, and you got to pull away from those things that had a hold of you, right?
Yep. Let all those people go. So
Yeah.
people, places, and things.
Yeah,
Gotta
you're
change all
addicted to
three
the
of those things.
personalities.
Yep.
You know what's crazy is one of the things I learned is my friends are a mirror of part of me.
Yep.
And then you got to ask, why do I get along with that person? If that person's not a good person, why do I get along with that person? Why if that person's a liar, that person has a temper? Why do I get along with them? The only answer is because we have something in common.
Yep.
Right? And if you don't remove yourself from your lifestyle, you're going to fall back into it. And you knew that because you've done that multiple times.
Yes.
But now you had a good woman and you're ready
Yes.
to go. All right, so you're getting married. What happens? Because how do we
As
get to reconnections? How do we get there?
So as we get married, the pastor that I had at that time had a program called PACT. It's called People Achieving Change Day. Mr. Terry Coons, very dear friend of mine still today.
Okay.
He was working with the juveniles, and he's like, I want to get you to become a mentor and help these young kids out because he knew my background story.
So talk to them about.
Yep, and give them hope.
Yeah.
And then what happens is he ends up moving downstate. He lives near Port Huron now.
Right.
He says, hey, I got a friend that's got a program. It's called Reconnections. He goes, and we were kind of talking about this, and he goes, I want to introduce you to him because I think he'd be a good person for you to have in your life.
So that was Dennis,
And that was Mr. Dennis Wine.
who is an amazing human being, by the way.
He is
That dude's all
phenomenal.
fire. I love him so much.
He teaches me continuously today, so I'm very thankful to have
Every
him
time I
around.
get around him, I'm like, yeah, we're going to do all this stuff. It's crazy.
Yes. So,
So what year was that?
well, I got involved with Reconnections in 2016.
Okay.
17.
All right, so, and you started off as what? A mentor?
Dennis trained me to become a life coach.
Okay, which is helping guys that get out of prison
Yes.
reacclimate?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So during that time period, with felonies on my record, nobody wants to give me a job.
Yeah.
I decided to start a business. My wife says, you help this guy out. Let's get you going. So
Yeah.
I started a business 8 years ago, and what we
Doing?
do- and I do lawn care,
Okay.
commercial and residential now. So this is 8 years into it,
Yeah.
and I was figuring I could help people that get felonies get jobs because I know
Yeah,
what
just
it's
create a
like.
job for
Yep.
them.
And
Okay.
it kind of fell into what we do with Reconnections, and
Yeah.
becoming a life coach. When I got to share my story, where I came from and what I did with these men that were coming out of prison, because we work with the top 20% that come out of prison in Reconnections.
Yeah.
So they have the worst charges, and nobody,
Top 20%, you mean top?
the worst charges.
All right, so the worst of the worst.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
those dudes are my favorite. They're committed.
those are the people that most people won't.
They won't
give a
touch 'em,
job
right?
to.
Yeah.
Right. And we want to
And understandably so. You know what
and
I'm
we
saying?
want to let them know that they did their time.
Yeah.
It's time to move on now. Like Chaplain Sue told me, put a
Yeah.
band in, get back up, keep moving forward.
It's not a scarlet A for the rest of your life.
Right.
Because, just in defense of those guys, they got to come up with lies of what they've been doing for the last 8 years because
Yes.
they don't have, did you hear about this had happened or that, I don't know how to use a cell phone, crazy stuff you wouldn't even think of, right?
Yes, correct. So
And so when you're coming, you don't have to do all that. You don't have to. You don't
in
have
our
to
first class, we had
Well, people don't average person doesn't understand that. You know what I'm saying?
Nope.
Well, what do you mean? Because in their minds, is the progression of time has been linear and continual, and they had a stop start in the middle of their life, right? I remember having a conversation with a guy, and he's like, "What's Google?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "What?" But
they don't know.
Yeah,
Exactly.
he had no idea. He went in and he was like, "Can I still get a pager?"
so being a life coach and me sharing my story
you got to do that all the time.
about being locked up.
Yeah.
Dennis says, you know what? We got people that got degrees, they got all these things, but we don't have what you have.
Yeah, experience.
You've got experience.
Yeah.
You relate to these guys. We want you to become a life coach director. I'm like, sure, no problem.
So life coach director is training the life coaches.
Correct. Yeah. So and what that did, It just changed my whole world with the people that I hang out with now.
All right, give me an example of what you mean.
So most of the people that all the people that are our life coaches are Christian based.
Yeah.
And most of them are pastors, chaplains.
Right.
These are my friends.
Right. So your friend base is different.
Yeah.
Who you surrounded yourself with.
And there's a saying that, one of the coaches, I won't say his name, Mr. James Washington, but, he said, "Show me who your friends are and I'll show you what your future is going to look like."
Yep.
And that's exactly it. So, who you surround yourself around makes everything about who you're going to be and what you're going to do. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah, your wise counsel to wage your war, right?
Yes, exactly.
So you went from learning how to be a thug, basically, right, at an early age.
Yep.
And it's not even, our parents have their own demons, right?
Yep.
They also have their own strengths.
Yes.
Right. Mm-hmm. So like in my situation, I can super relate to your scenario. It's extremely similar.
Yep.
So you go into the situation, and it's like, I had one of my friends tell me this one time, and it blew my mind. And because I was always down on myself, I'm stupid, and I'm dumb, and I'm injured, I'm this. And he was like, it takes an extraordinary intelligence to go through a dramatic scenario and then come out of it, right? And I was like, he's like, did you ever think that you were extremely intelligent and you were just surrounded by unintelligence? And it never entered my mind, right? Like, my dad is a great human being. He worked at GM for 37 years, and he was a highway driver. What exactly about life is that cat supposed to know? He knows how to work hard. He knows how to come home. He does that stuff, right? So what is it that I'm expecting out of him? My mom, God bless her heart, been struggling with addiction since she was 15 years old. What is it about life, that the information that she has? And it made me go, why am I demanding life understanding from these two people when they didn't get it from their parents? It's like not fair.
Right.
But you don't think about that as a kid. You think, you're the great and powerful, and you're the one that beats me, so you're in charge.
Everything's
right?
always about me.
Yeah, and it's weird how it's not. It's just not
at all.
right? And so we're sitting there, and when I came to that epiphany, I started looking at, I have these holes in my life I need to fill.
Yes.
Like, how do I apply myself in a situation to help someone else get a goal? How do I push someone who's struggling so they get a win? How do I put myself in the back? I don't like being in the front. I like being right behind the guy. Like, I like having the studio so you guys can come on here and tell your story, because I find your stories interesting, but I don't want to be there.
Right.
I want you to tell you. I don't want to be on that side. I want to be on this side going, man, that's cool, because I like people and I enjoy people. And so your story is this story of the possibility of growing up poor and having nothing and making a difference with people who don't have people like them. That's, people that come out of prison and in jail tend to have a stigma that comes with them, right? And you're this socially bad person, and you're giving those people hope, right?
Correct.
So on that note, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to see how Mr. Bill Lucio lets people get help through Reconnections and what he's doing and what they're doing and what kind of stuff they can look forward to. And if you know anybody that needs some help, you'll be able to check them out, and we'll give you the information. Please like, share, and subscribe on Spiritual Warfare Unit on YouTube, and we'll be right back.
I was an addict for 6 years. I was deeply into heroin and addiction. 2014, a lot of events happened for me. I had lost my sister. My dad was just diagnosed with cancer. I was just kind of in this headspace of being in a mess as it was, and then I was introduced to heroin. I kept it pretty well hidden there in the beginning. A lot of people didn't know that I was using, just because I went about my everyday life the same way anybody else would. But what they didn't know behind the scenes is I was using 10 times a day. I'm living out of what I consider a trap house at this point. There's no windows, there's no doors, there's no place to stay warm. I had no other way of making money. I was doing things that weren't okay to me. I started prostituting. I was stealing from my loved ones. I was taking my dad's cancer prescriptions, and I would take them and I would sell them. I couldn't even contact my daughter in December of that year to tell her Merry Christmas or send her gifts. And it just got to a point where I knew, like, I'm either going to get clean or I might as well start planning my own funeral. So for me, it wasn't even just that I needed to stop. my life over the course of 6 years fell apart.
211 Silver Hollow Road, between Lane Road and Cross Patch Road.
So I met Sarah in 2019. We had a program I was working with law enforcement officers, and I got the call that they had somebody, so there I went to meet Sarah.
Here's just this happy-go-lucky guy just, oh my God, here's treatment. Here's what you can do. You can change your life around. I'm just kind of sitting there like, oh, okay, what did I get myself into? Like, maybe sitting in a cell by myself might have been a better idea, because at least I don't have to listen to all this.
Whenever I see somebody who's willing to go to treatment to try and help with their issue, it's something that I don't make that judgment. I always just try and provide the hope, the encouragement, and the motivation to go to treatment, and then hope that it works for them, hope they engage, hope that it's the point of life that they're in, that they're ready to make that change.
It was a huge wake-up call for me. When I'm watching all these people that I used to hang out with, including my husband, get clean before I did, and just watching their lives change so drastically and them becoming so much happier, and I just sat there in this endless abyss of a mess that I caused myself, but I didn't know how to get out of it. I didn't know how to stay clean. I didn't know how to live my life without substances because I had done it for so long.
With UCAN and our relationships we can actually get people into multiple treatment facilities. So depending on age, gender, the drug of choice, things of that nature, there's certain facilities that maybe have a little bit more of a success rate with certain populations. So we kind of talk through that and then try and place them where we feel is an optimal place to succeed.
My husband and I finally got a place together, and life has pretty much been good ever since, but like the key role of it for me was staying in contact with people.
We can't go in and drive in and grab somebody, just pull them out like they're drowning. It's a decision they have to make, and it's a commitment they have to make, and then they have to be diligent, determined, dedicated to find sobriety.
So my husband has 2 years clean, and I have 22 months clean. I will have 2 years clean on December 21st of this year. Just last month in October, we went back to court. Everything's officially terminated. She's back home with us for good.
Yeah, so UCAN is that conduit. A lot of times people don't know when to or how to or where to go to start looking for services. So we try and promote UCAN as being the starting point for people to begin the road to navigating recovery.
It is more than possible to change your life around.
So this program that we have allows law enforcement that if they have somebody that they feel could use the opportunity to try and get treatment instead of incarceration, that they would reach out and we could handle it for them.
Recovery is possible, and there is hope.
All right, welcome back to the Warrior's Way. Our warrior again this week is Bill Lucio from Reconnections, www.re-connections.org. If you have a family member that needs help and they're getting out of prison and they need a program that can help them out, this is the program to do it. Now, you got connected with Dennis. You became a life coach. Then you became the director of the life coach, right? That's
Yes.
what you're doing now?
Correct.
All right, so if people have family members that are watching this that could use like this program, what are like the prereqs for getting into it? You know what I mean?
Well, first of all, they have to have a felony.
The reason why I like that is because I think this is the only job application that you're required
You
to have
have to have a
for.
felony.
Isn't that cool? I love that part. So you got to have a felony. All right. What else?
And most of the people that we do work with come from the Michigan Department of Corrections.
Okay.
So they have a parole agent.
All right.
And when they have a parole agent, most of their time is limited
Right.
when they come out.
Yep.
So how do we teach them to acclimate back into
Yep.
the community? So,
Yeah.
and
Get
that's-
caught up, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what we do is we empower citizens with felonies through coaching, education, and employment.
Okay.
For reconnections within the community.
So if someone goes on your program, they're going to get caught up with the community in an environment that they're used to,
Yes.
same kind of people.
Yes.
Right? And then they're going to get help with job training. So
Correct.
they're going to have a way to make employment legally.
Yes,
And this is for people that have a felony. I just want to make that perfectly clear.
exactly.
Okay. So I don't know if you know this or not, but it's hard to get a job if you have a felony. I don't know if you knew that.
Yeah. Well, I guess there's a plus and a minus to that because you look at I guess how people were getting all these checks from the government to not go to work.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of people don't want to work.
Yeah.
But guess who wants to work?
Right.
The people that are coming out.
And the thing is why not let them?
Exactly.
I mean, why not? A mistake doesn't mean you're bad. It just
Right.
means you're not perfect.
There's a revolving door set up, so the system is waiting for them to come back.
Yeah.
But when they don't know what else to do,
Yeah. They'll go back
they
to
go
what they
back
know.
to where they used to be.
And that makes
that's
perfect
what
sense.
Reconnections is all about. It's like, let's teach them that they do have skills. Let's show them that they have skills. Let's connect them with a life coach and that's somebody that they're not used to being around and give them new ideas.
So you're showing them they have positive value.
Yes.
All right.
Exactly.
So what kind of stuff do they do? Like what kind of things is Reconnection doing with these guys?
Well, we teach them, how to fill out their resumes. How to
Paperwork?
show up for job interviews. To be prepared.
Do you guys help them with like their license and birth certificate and all that stuff?
Yep. We help them get their license, all that stuff. We try to make sure they got connections for transportation. As far as if there's a bus line. When they get a job, they don't have a vehicle.
Right.
We want to find a place where they can work
Okay.
that has a bus line so they can get back and forth.
I
to
got
work.
you. How much does this cost for these guys or the families?
It costs them absolutely nothing.
It's free.
It's free.
You help these dudes out for free.
Correct.
Okay. And so if someone has a family member that has been in prison and they're struggling finding a job, they can go to your and where are you guys located? Right downtown? What's the address?
I think it's
812 Root Street.
Root Street, correct? Yeah,
Root.
812. Yeah, Root.
Yeah.
So we're
Good movie.
Yeah. So we're right across the street from the Catholic Charity Building.
Yeah.
At the St. Michael's church, old church.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful place. We got a nice classroom set up in there. We have a 5 to 6 week class.
Okay. What's a class involve?
So 3 days a week they'll come to class.
Mm-hmm.
We definitely have a high standard for what we do.
Yeah, I think I remember Dennis saying, like, if you're a minute late, you're out, right?
Yeah, so if we don't have the bar raised high, because what we're trying to do is teach them to be responsible.
Yeah.
And when you get a job, guess what? You better show up.
Yeah, right.
And if you show up late, you're not going to have that job.
Yeah.
Just little things like that, for them to get prepared.
All right, so this program what are they learning? Like, what's the classes, I guess,
we teach them how to tie a tie,
No kidding.
Most of them don't know how to tie a tie. You give them a tie, put this together, just so they can learn how to dress for success.
So their function is, so if I'm hearing what you're saying, the whole function is to get them back into community where they fit in. They have a spot.
Correct.
Okay.
How to cook on a budget, because they got to learn how to do their finances.
So there's like finances classes too?
Oh, yes.
Wow.
Yep. So they got to learn how to balance their budget, And most of the time when you get some money, these guys they get a little extravagant and they go and buy something, and they realize, oh, how do I pay for this now? How do I have a place? And it's a learning experience for them. But
Okay.
that's what the life coach is there for.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So basically, if I'm understanding this, you're taking people who've made like let's say a major social mistake in their life, and you're teaching them how to be able to fit into the community and that they have value as a person.
Correct.
Okay. All right. So tell us about Dennis, man. What's this guy like? The guy who runs this.
He has such a heart on him. He's explained to me how he started this program. He wrote it down on a napkin and just, was going all these places. And
Tell us that story real quick. He wrote the idea on a napkin?
Yeah. And so he's thinking, who's going to let me do this? I want to work with people that are coming out of prison.
Hold on a second. Wait a minute. he was just hanging out somewhere and was like, I have an idea and I stuck it on a napkin. I'm going to help people.
He was at a Tim Hortons.
How in the world? It just popped into his brain.
He shared it with the gentleman that used to be my pastor, Mr. Terry Coons.
Okay.
And Terry Coons was in another program that worked with people that were in prison.
Okay.
And that's Operation Transformation.
Operation Transformation.
You know that program. And so Terry was like, giving him ideas, and Dennis is putting all this stuff down, and he's trying to find out who's going to let me do this. He's knocking on churches.
Yeah, because he's a get it done today guy.
Yeah,
I love that about him.
like
I'm the same way. Like if I say I can do it, I mean like as soon as we're done,
now.
I can get it done.
Yeah.
And he's the same way. And then when someone's like, I can get it done, and they don't, it's like, X. You know?
So he finally went to the Catholic Charity Building, knocked on their door, and met Vicky Schultz that runs that, and what an amazing lady she is.
You right.
And she asked him, she says, so how long were you locked up for? He says, I've never been locked up. But she's like, you're serious? You want to do a program like this?
Yeah.
And that's where it all started. So,
Yeah, and he's got like a pretty high educational background too.
yeah, he's
Extremely intelligent.
Yeah, that's why it's very important for me to be a life coach director, because the people that we place with these men that are coming out,
Yeah.
they're getting people with a lot more wisdom than what they're normally used to hanging out with.
Sure.
And Dennis is that kind of guy.
Right.
And I'm just, he just passes it on. And, it's like, I think of 2 Timothy where you're passing the baton on, he's passing it on. And he wants this program to eventually be a program run by people like myself,
Right.
ex-felons. And that's what his whole goal is. But, this is a time and process. It might not happen in my lifetime.
All right. And so when did he start this program? When did it all-
2015,
2015.
16 area, yep.
All right. So right in the time frame when you were getting your stuff together. That's freaking brilliant.
Yeah.
So, right. So you've been there right since the beginning.
From class 4, I started.
Okay.
And we've now done class number 32. So we've had 32 classes.
How many classes do you guys do a year?
We try to do 5 classes per year.
5 classes per year?
Yep.
And in these classes, you're getting, what's the max? Is there a max number or a minimum number? Like minimum number is obviously 1, but like, is there a max number?
I think we've had a class that may have had 8 graduates.
8?
Yep.
Okay, so these are really small. So they're very personal is what I'm,
Yes.
you don't got like 40 guys and
No, it's
pass this thing and write this thing.
It's hard to get everybody to concentrate. So, and that's why we continuously do another class. So we have a class actually right now that's in progress, and they're going to be graduating on June 17th, I believe.
Okay.
And when that happens, then they'll meet their life coach.
Okay.
I introduce them to their life coach. They do a 6 months with this person.
Yeah.
And it's all about relationship.
Okay.
So I've learned that if I don't have a relationship with my Heavenly Father,
Yeah.
all these relationships really don't.
Yeah, because then you're just using them instead of them actually having value, right?
So for them
Yeah.
not having a father role model,
Yeah.
we connect them with a life coach, because that's kind of what they are. They give you good ideas and give you, new things to think about. So
Yeah.
it's very powerful.
All right, so you guys, are you just in the Genesee County area?
Right now, yes, we are. So, it's been a process and building up where we're at.
Yeah, the platform.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think that, God willing, I think that it's going to be moving a little quicker than what we think. So we're trying to prepare for that.
Oh, so the growth into other counties and all that
We've
stuff.
made proposals into Saginaw County.
Okay.
And the mayor there was very interested in what we're doing.
I bet. It's a great thing, dude. Like, and it's not like you got a lot of competition. You know what I'm saying? It's not like there's a bunch of people going, yeah, sure, we're going to help these guys. Like it just, what makes what you guys do so good is because there's a big difference between, yeah, we want to do this and doing it. And that step is really close to each other, but the work of it's super hard, right?
Oh, it's a lot of work.
Yeah, because it's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You never got an off day. Like you don't, like if you're doing billable hours.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
You have to have a passion for this.
It's a continuous thing,
Yeah.
and that's one of the best things about life is that when you're doing things for other people, your life becomes more valuable.
Right. And this is why I want to have you on. Guys, you got to check out Reconnections. Go to Reconnections, www.re-connections.org, or you can hit the number at 248-207-8125. Bill, thank you so much for coming in. I love you guys. We look forward to hanging out and doing stuff together. And if you've not gone to Spiritual Warfare Unit on YouTube, like, share, and subscribe. And if you know somebody that you know is struggling, you get them the information and you be part of the Spiritual Warfare Unit too. Thanks for stopping in. We'll see you next week. Do you have a nonprofit in your area that's doing a lot of work that people should know about? Feel free to contact Spiritual Warfare Unit at 810-715-9319, and we would love to have them on to see what good they're doing in the community and find out their story. Thank you so much.
Spent so much time believing the lies. I knew I wasn't meant to live this way. But my walls came down when your love shone through. Now my life will never be the same. You love me too much to let me stay this way.